So we're here at the NOAA conference in Zurich in wonderful Switzerland. I've got another super guest in front of me. If you could say your name and who you're representing.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Harald Neidhardt. I'm the CEO and curator of the Future.io Institute.
Right. And tell us, what is the big idea that you're bringing to NOAA? How is this going to change the world, make it a better place, everybody's going to be happy, and we've saved the planet?
Right. Obviously, we smile because that would be an option for so many people, and not a lot of people are doing it. So our take is that we are building an online learning platform for sustainable innovation. So basically a masterclass for sustainability, where we have already launched a couple of programs which are about leadership in sustainable innovation. We launched at COP26 in Glasgow about with 50 new faculty members, including UN speakers. You might be familiar with Youssef Nassef, Director Adaptation of the UN.
Yes,
and
old
people,
colleague.
Yes, people from UN World Food Programme and UNICEF and UNDP and so on, describing challenges around the sustainability. Then we have actors from NGOs, startups, and let's say independent experts telling what they already do. And then we have some deep dives in technology. So our whole mission is to inspire people to get a grip about what is sustainability, what they can do, especially in the big belly of corporates, that if all of them move towards the right direction, not waiting for either their CEO or policies or so, which might take some time. What can they do today? That's how we want to inspire them and lead them into impact.
That's really important, isn't it? Because, I mean, the fact is that it is, in fact, the people in the companies from within, if they're inspired, that can bring about massive change within that company going forward. And also, we just had a chap on before because he was talking about gender balance as well. Of course, more women are quite useful too. But how long has this been running?
We have started 3 years ago at the end of 2017. We started first with convening and bringing people together, innovators and people who are driving change within corporates, chief innovation officers, chief digital officers. And then with Corona, we basically went into this online platform and through our work with the UN, we were invited 2019 already to help them with their innovation efforts. What is the program after the SDGs?
Right.
So we can talk about that, a longer stuff. So I'm very passionate about sustainable innovation, and so we started. Okay, how can we make it more accessible? Help with students as well as corporates to have access to these programs, and now. Here at NOAA, we announced that we are building a platform so that we allow and invite also other people to bring content on our platform together, so there's more knowledge shared around the world.
So I think, if we put it under the broad label of education or educating people.
Learning.
Yeah,
education is something that the university does to you. Learning is lifelong learning, what you are curious about. That's, I think.
No, that's very important indeed. I get the distinction. I think whether it's lifelong learning and or education, I think this is absolutely critical because nobody is done when they leave school. I mean, we have to keep evolving in terms of our curiosity and our understanding. And also, the turnover in terms of your own personal life, it might lead you down a cul-de-sac of a certain thing, but you need to come back in.
Exactly.
And if it's about sustainability, we need to constantly be aware also of developments because there's massive change in that all the time. And I think that this is something that sometimes governments forget, that this is part of the solution, this whole kind of learning, but also education. I was involved in a campaign for COP26, which was a bit simpler, which was simply, why can't the governments do what they promised in 1992, which was to educate every child in school on climate change and environmental issues, right? They promised that at the Rio Earth Summit, in the original UNFCCC, and there's only 2 countries integrated into their national curricula.
It's embarrassing.
Italy, and then the UK announced it in Glasgow. It's thoroughly embarrassing. So, and all these young kids that are protesting on the streets and things like that, they're having to self-teach themselves in many cases, unless they have a passionate teacher in their school, and they're lucky. So, I don't think past generations would have left it to so much randomness.
No, exactly.
When computers came in, governments were very keen to make sure that everyone was literate in that. So, this is great work that you're doing, and it's part of an even bigger picture, isn't it? Right through the life of an individual from birth to from cradle to grave, as we say these days.
And there's a lot of people think, I mean, first of all, we can talk about that universities are not up to snuff to really kind of educate. If you leave now with your MBA, you probably haven't heard about sustainability now, 2021. So I think there's a scandal that universities can do so much more and even inspire people to just come back and so on. And also within corporates, we know that the ESG, so environmental, social, and governance structures will have a whole new effect on. They have to do reporting. Now there's a management, term with like if you can measure it, you can manage it. Now the ESGs will bring corporates into measurement, and basically people don't know that if you have a company which is just more than 250 people, which is a lot, especially in Europe, Germany, Switzerland, Mittelstand, then you have to start to report ESGs like a public company in the next 2 years. That means if you are a bakery and you have 20 shops in Zurich, all of a sudden you are the chief sustainable officer of your bakery. And you have to now, you have the report that maybe your water consumption for making croissants is too high. Now you have to start doing something about it. Be aware, that's where we are, inspiration, insight, but also then, let's say, connect to startups or innovators like here at NOAA who maybe have new ideas about water consumption. So that is, I think there's a whole new cycle and generation of innovation startups, and we need the next generation, of course, and help the activists on the street that we create impactivists within corporates.
Yeah, exactly. So are you interesting about what people have to do with ESG within the next 2 years? So where are these people going to learn how to fill in the forms or get things right?
Exactly.
Where do they go?
Well, I think they just use the people where you can now do certificates, either as your tax consultant or companies like EcoVadis, which is a tremendous success story from Paris. And then you have the measurement, and now you, let's say, have to see where you have to just try it on yourself and say, okay, what do I do now with this?
But if they come and do your course, even those people came on your course, right? Then they might learn of some of these innovations that might help them reduce the amount of water in their croissant or whatever it is.
So we have startups within our things like, for example, Jesse Baker, the CEO of Provenance, which is doing supply chain, tracking. Where does my coffee come from, or so? And these are the solutions we need much more, because otherwise, if you don't track, then you get a really bad rating. So there's a whole, I think, urgent and pressure coming from something profane like a policy change, which is, let's say, not up here with the SDGs and UN climate change, which unfortunately, takes a long time. But all of a sudden, Europe wants to be the, GDPR for sustainability is how I would say now. This is the ESG, and they want to be at the forefront. That means that also Asia and America, if they want to do business now with the food companies of Switzerland, all of a sudden, well, you have to comply to the EU route. So I think I'm very optimistic and positive that change is coming, but it's very coming from some unlikely new allies like the CFO, for example.
Yes. This is really interesting, and I think that obviously what you're doing, is, in a sense, you will make people more active on the subject because they will get more involved in it, and then they suddenly realize, some of the things will go off their eyes and realize that this isn't all just some kind of enforced policy. We're actually trying to go on a journey to a better world, right? I mean, this is not, we're not just doing this for no good reason. Like,
and we have to bring these people to the table. I mean, corporates are already some part of COP, but there's no slot for startups, and because obviously the UN and the governments are so busy to do their treaty and doing the contract work. You know this better than anybody else. But I mean, if we're looking for solutions, we're not looking. We cannot only look at the politicians to come up with solutions. We have to come with other new ideas and visions. We need a new narrative, and that's where startups and I think innovators as well as corporates can come in to really drive that change. Most likely faster than what the policy is implementing. I hope at least.
We're going to have to wind it up here, but before we end our very nice fireside chat without a fire,
the heart is burning.
The heart's burning. There's a lot of absurdity in the world still. The world has not sorted that out yet, and we're always very interested in this number that you might be able to see up on the screen right now. There we go. 601 billion now. That's, Harald, the amount of money that governments have spent on subsidizing fossil fuels since day one of the climate conference up till now. And I'm sure you could do a lot more good with this money in just setting up institutions or organizations like what you have all around the world, right? Which would be much more profitable for the future.
We often, we have to look at innovation in small companies or from startups is basically what also was driven all of the innovation of, after the, from the 50s, so to say. Somebody started with 2 or 3 things being a bookstore. Now they are Bertelsmann and they're media giants and so on. So this kind of innovation is something which right now needs more support from the finance industry to say, okay, we need this, because banks are no longer doing it. They are even not allowed to it. Now that's what I think we have to get used to, these huge numbers. This is a negative huge number, which is unbelievable, unconceivable. We also, but we also think there's a $1 trillion opportunity in climate change and doing these things, because the baker now needs to spend money on water pumps or vents or something. So there is innovation budgets galore, which otherwise would be just paid into penalties. And now the CFO, I think, has to say, well, I have to pay either $1 million in penalties, or I can now invest it and find new solutions. And so combining these innovations is, I think, the key to go into the trillions we need to drive this change.
Exactly.
I mean, there's 130 trillion under management who are at least saying
that's
they're
what we're
starting.
told. Yeah, that's what I'd like to see where they're signing the checks right now.
Exactly. But I mean, these numbers before are unconceivable, and this number is so bad.
This one's absurd on the fossil fuel subsidies. This money could be spent on educating every child in Africa, or inoculating the whole world 10 times over, or whatever it would be. Cool.
Okay.
Harold, thank you very much indeed for your time today, and best of luck with your work. And
congrats on your platform. We don't have time is the motto, and it's just amazing for your work. Thank you.
It's going well too, yeah. Good. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Just stay with us.